Hey everyone, welcome back. Today is day 14 of my journey learning Japanese, and I started this series as a complete beginner. And these streams is all about documenting every step of my progress with learning Japanese. And over the last 13 or so days, I've learned how to read and write hiragana and katakana, and I've also learned 100 or so basic words of Japanese vocabulary. Now, I actually streamed earlier today, and focusing I was kind of going back to the basics, namely writing hiragana and katakana in the correct stroke order. And I'd made good progress with that. But my goal for this stream is to continue on with that. And then if I wrap that up, maybe go back and learn some more basic Japanese vocabulary. But I'm here on the Lingo Command website. And if we press start now and we go to writing systems, and then we go to writing systems practice and basic katakana. We get this table here with the 46 basic katakana characters here on the right. And for each one, we get this little audio button.
あ、い、う、
That audio button like shows how to pronounce each character. And then on the left, we get the Romaji equivalent for that kana, for that katakana. And the other thing we can do is for each character, if you press this, you get this little pop-up.
い、い、
And basically, this video shows us the correct stroke order for writing this character. And you might be wondering, like, surely it doesn't matter if I, write this first stroke and then the next one, right? Perhaps I can do this first and then that one. Or for example, that first stroke, I can start in the bottom left and then go to the top right and then go down. And basically, the point of stroke order is that it makes your handwriting more neat. It makes you write faster. And also, it's just what native Japanese people themselves do. Everyone writes ideally in the correct stroke order. And so if the Japanese themselves insist on it, I as a beginner, I'm going to follow suit and kind of do it the way they do. And so that basically explains what these stroke order videos are. But here, if we go to quiz, we're now basically being asked these questions here. We're seeing the katakana character, and then here we can type in the Romaji equivalent. Sorry, that was ka, not ja. Ki, ku, ke, ko, etc. And for those of you that have just joined, I'm basically here practicing on the Lingo Command website how to write katakana. But yeah, so here on the left, we've got the katakana and here the Romaji equivalent. But if we uncheck swap languages, select handwrite answers and press, and by the way, let's also press random ordering so that kind of scrambles the questions, makes it a bit harder to get it right. Now, if we press here, we get this kind of Photoshop looking box in which we can draw. And if we press show answer here, this is how you would write the katakana character for N. So let's do that. So this is the first stroke. That's the second. And then we can compare that here against the answer. And if it matches, we move on to the next one. And so, for example, re, you start at the top. It's one stroke. And then you've got this shape here. Now this is extending upwards a bit too much. I'm gonna redo that. It looks like this from what I remember. So yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate. So we're gonna say that matches. And then we go on to ma. And I think this it looks like this. So let's draw that neatly. This is the first stroke. And then that's the second. That's the second there. So let's take a look. And I would say, yeah, that once again matches pretty nicely. So we'll consider that correct and move on to the next one. And then what about yo? So you have ya, yu, and yo. They come in a cluster of 3. And this is, wait, let me write this more neatly. From what I remember, this is ya. And then, so one of them, it looks like this. And then yo is, what is yo? And actually, the order in which you see them is ya, yo, and then yu is last, I think. Ra, ri, ru, re, ro. Oh, actually, yeah, I think this might be the order. In any case, this is ya. I think this is yu. But now the question is, what is yo? What is yo? Let's take a look. Ah, so this is yo. So let's, in a new tab, quickly open, there we go. I remember now. So yu looks like this. That's yu. And then this is yo. And then this is ya. So let's write the answer for this. So it's 1, 2, 3. But I think there's a bit more space here. There we go. So that's 1, 2, 3. So that's correct. And we're going to go on to the next question. So se. Now, se looks like this in hiragana. I think it might be something like this in katakana. So that was spot on, so we'll consider that correct. And then this looks like a capital I to me. Fantastic, that was correct. And we spoke about this earlier, so this is ya. And then he looks the same for hiragana as well as for katakana. It's very simple, it's one stroke. And then if we go to o, right, this is 1, 2, 3. I think actually it's a little bit more wide. So it's like something like that. Call that a pass. And then sa. So sa, it was something like this. And I think you start with the horizontal stroke and then you do the 2. So this is 1, left to right, and it's 2, and then it's 3. And yeah, that's spot on, so we'll accept that. And then we'll go on to mu. So mu is this. It's like a triangle. Yeah. And then mi is 3 lines slanted. But is it slanted like this? Right. Or is it slanted like that? And I've got a feeling it's this one. So let's clear everything and draw that again. So it's 1, 2, 3. But this is too slanted. 1, 2, 3. And that's pretty much spot on. So we'll take that. And then what is ta? Something like this? Or is this na? Because I think na might be this one. Ta, ta, ta. Tricky to remember this one. What is ta? I have a feeling that this is na, but it's my closest guess. There we go. Completely wrong. I remember. So it's 1, 2, 3. This is ta. The way I remember this, it kind of looks like a rocking chair, which is, you can imagine that this is kind of like rolling like this, right? Kind of from side to side. And a rocking chair is some furniture, so is a table. It's a very convoluted way to remember what this was, like when you see the shape. But then, yeah, I can kind of remember that shape. Ta, table, rocking chair, and go from there. So let's just write this neatly. This is 1, 2, 3. And we'll submit that. Now this one's very simple. It's 1, 2. We can draw this more neatly. 1, 2, like that. Yeah, well that looks pretty correct to me. Now, here's the tricky part. So, ro and ko, they both look like a box. But if I'm not mistaken, ko looks something like this. This is missing. Whilst with ro, you start with the vertical stroke, then this one, and then this one, something like that. So I'm gonna say that this is the first stroke, that's the second, that's the third. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's pretty much spot on. And then ru. What is ru? So ru is something like this. Yeah. And then no, it's like a diagonal stroke. But the question is, does it go from top to bottom? From top right to bottom left, or the other way around? To me, top to bottom makes more sense. That's great. And then ah. So ah is 1. Wait, I think this might be straight like this, and then this is curved. Yeah, so that's perfect. Fu. What is fu? Kind of looks like a shark's mouth to me, right? If this is not even the mouth of a shark, the face, right? This to me, that could be a shark, right? So the silhouette of a shark, let's say, of a shark's face. That's fu. And then o, written as vo in Romaji, is so this is va, so that's not right. What is o? I can't remember. So I'm just gonna take a super quick look. Ah, that's so annoying. It's 1, 2, 3. It's this shape. So I gotta remember that one. But this is very simple. This is to. We'll take that, and then we go to ni. So ni in hiragana, it's this shape. This is ne. Na is this one. What is nu? What is no? So no is this one. How did I forget this? Oh my god, that's so silly. So you have me and ni. Me and ni. So ni has 2 lines, and me has 3. Like that. But perhaps less slanted. Yeah, let's draw it like this. And the way I remember that is like when you look here for me, the M has like 3 segments to it, whilst N has 2. And so the number of segments in the letter M matches the amount of lines here, and the number of segments in the letter N. And with segments, I mean these bits that kind of like are local minima, right? So in any case, let's write our answer here. This is ni, great. And then mo, it's something like this. Ah, that's a bit sloppy, isn't it? Okay, let's try that again. 1, 2, 3. It wasn't even sloppy. It was just straight up incorrect. If we're gonna be honest. Ki is very simple. So this is ki in hiragana. And for katakana, it's the same shape kind of at the top. It's just this. So let's write that neatly. So it's 1, 2, 3. Ah, but my shape is it's too slanted. It's actually more like this. Wait. That makes me wonder, so if we were writing ki in hiragana, am I just getting this completely mixed up?
き、
Yeah, I see. So here it is also going bottom left to top right. So in hiragana, it's 1, 2, 3 like this. And so then this is the katakana equivalent. So let's write that neatly. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Great. On to the next one. So shi. It I think it's something like this. So I think these lines they're diagonal, but the slope is very mild. And then you go up like this. But maybe a bit more diagonal actually. Let's say like that. 1, 2, 3. Great, that was correct. And then nu. What is nu? That's annoying. Okay, 1, 2. And then ba, it's very simple. It's 1, 2. Like that. And then this is 1. 1, 2, 3. And then ra is 1, 2 like this. But let's try that more neatly. 1, 2. Submit that. Move on to the next one. And then he. What is he? He is 1, 2 like that. Submit that. So is something like this. 1, 2. Yeah, that was correct. Oh my god. And then 2 is 1. Okay, so you remember with she, the stroke order diagram was like this. So this is 1, 2, 3. So this is 1, 2, 3. I think for tsu, the strokes are like this. They're more steep. And I think this is 1, this is 2, and then this is 3. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So that's correct there. Tsu is 1, 2, 3 like this. But let's write it separately. So it's 1, 2, and this is a little bit more like curved. Okay. So we'll submit that and go on to na. So it is na. So na is this shape from what I remember. Perfect. And then ha is very simple. It's 1, 2. We'll submit that and move on to the next. Te is, so this is ra, right? But there's something similar going on here. It's this is te. So it's 1, 2, 3. There we go. Ke is 1. The way I remember this is this extends to the right. Extends, right? Extends starts with an E. That ends with an E. That's correct. And then E, you start at the top right, go down to the bottom left, and then you have this stroke. That's E. Fantastic. So me, I don't know what the correct stroke order is, but I think it's this. Yeah, perfect. Ku is the same as ke, but you don't extend to the right. So consider that correct and move on to ho. The way I remember this is it sort of like looks like a home to me, right? But let's write this a bit more neatly. That it's almost correct, but not quite. So it's 1, 2. So it basically sticks out here at the top. There we go. And then ka, I think it's I'm gonna say it's something like this. Yeah, I'd consider that correct. And then ri, right? What is ri? So ra was this. Ri we don't remember just for now. Ru was this. Re was okay. So ro was like this kind of box-looking shape. What was ri? Oh, that's so annoying. It's just very similar. So in hiragana, ri looks like this, and it's pretty much the same thing without this little mark going up. For katakana, but ko we can be pretty comfortable with that. It's just this, same as ro, but without this little mark on the left, like this vertical thing here. Yu. Let's go over this. So it's ya, yu, and yo. So this is ya, and then this is yu. Let's make that a bit bigger. That's yu, and then yo is this. So we can clear all of this up and just do yu. So use this. Perfect. And then chi is 1, 2, 3. Like that. 1, 2, 3. Great. And then ne. So there's a lot going on here, right? It's 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 1. That's 2. This is 3. And then that's 4. There we go. Now there were a couple that I wasn't that confident in. And we could isolate them. But I feel like it might be worth to just do this whole thing again. There's one more round to consolidate that understanding. So set. So this is set in hiragana. I'm just trying to jog my memory because I don't really remember. So you have sa, shi, su, se, and so. Now sa is so was something like this in katakana. Shi is this. Su is that one. I'm writing this not very neatly. Let's write this more neatly. It's like that. Sa is what is sa? This is sa. 1, 2, 3. And then se is this. There we go. That took forever, but I remember now. So it's 1, 2. 1, 2. This is se. Ri is this. Nu is like that. And then N is oh no, what is N? I think it's like something like this. 1, 2. Perfect, that's actually correct. Okay. Ku is 1, 2, like that. Correct again. Ke extends to the right compared to ku. It looks like that. And then va is the same as u without this little mark at the top. And then na, what is na? So na is this. Su looks like this. And then o, vo, but it's pronounced o. So, oh god, did I really forget this? Oh no, what could this be? What could this be? So I think it's something like that in hiragana. Jeez, am I gonna just have to write out all of the characters? So it's this is a. This is i. That's u. This is e. That's o. A, u, e, o. And then it's ka. It's just like this. Ki was something like that. So yeah, I think for ki it slants down here. And then yeah, you have this third line perpendicular. Ku, we've already seen that. It's like this. This is ke. And then ko is 1, 2. And then sa is 1, 2, 3. Shi is 1, 2, 3. Su is, we've seen that. It's this one. Se is, God, what is se? And what is so? So is this. And then se is, I don't remember. Yeah, I'm doing a whole lot of stuff without actually remembering what is all. Oh, that's so frustrating. Okay, 1, 2, 3. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make use of a very useful feature, right? We're going to select characters, and if I can't immediately think of what the answer is, I'm gonna select it. So ri, I know that one. Nu, I know that one. En, I know. Ku, I know. Ke, va, na, looks, yes. Su, I know. This one I keep getting wrong, so let's select it. You, what is you? Okay, that took too long. This I know. Okay, he, I know. Ha, I know. Chi, I know. Mi, I know. Ma, and then he, I know. She, I know. But what about ni? I can't remember that one off by immediately. Ki, I sometimes get wrong, so let's select that. And then ta, take that one. Sa, I know. What about ko? I know that one. Let's take mo as well. And then maybe also na. And for those of you that have just joined, I'm basically studying how to write the basic katakana characters on the Lingo Command website. The questions here are being posed in Romaji using European alphabet. And I already know quite a few of these. And so what I'm doing is I'm selecting the ones that I don't feel as confident in. So I think mi, ma, what else do we have? Yeah, why don't we just hide the remaining ones and try this quiz now. So these are the ones I'm not as confident in. And when you press here, you get this kind of Photoshop looking box in which you can write your answers. So from what I remember, the first stroke and the second stroke goes kind of from bottom left to top right. And then kind of at a 90-degree angle here, you have the third stroke. And that's correct, great. Set looks like this. 1, 2. Great. Ta. Oh, ta is kind of like table. Table is a piece of furniture, so is a rocking chair. This kind of looks like a rocking chair to me. Boom, job done. Now that was a really convoluted bit of logic, but it's how I try to remember this character. As for ni, that's just this. And then net, what is net? I think it might be this, you know? Okay, very simple. Ma is it this? Oh, of course it's not. This is ma. Come on, Kevin. 1, 2, like that. And this line is more straight than I thought. It's good to remember that. But then mi is, I think it's something like 1, 2, 3. Great. And then mo. So this one we remember now. It's like that. This is mo. You, we know it's this. Yo is 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, because this kind of sticks out a little bit. And this might be sharper actually, so let's write this properly. So it's 1, 2, 3. There we go. So that's yo. And then, I'm not getting this wrong again. This is o. And for those of you that have just joined, I'm basically practicing how to write basic katakana on the Lingo Command website. And if I uncheck select characters, this basically poses all 46 katakana characters as questions. And with handwriting answers or handwrite your answers selected, if I then press here, I get this kind of Photoshop looking component. And then in here, I can draw the character. So se, this is the first stroke. That's the second. And then we can submit our answer and check. So indeed, that's the first stroke. That's the second. That's all correct. And now we can try ri. So ri in hiragana, so let me write it like this. In hiragana, ri looks like this. And in katakana, it's very similar. It looks like that. And so let's just write that neatly. This is our answer. And indeed, that looks correct. So we'll say that matches and move on to the next. I think this one, it looks something like that. So let's write that neatly. So it's 1, 2. I think that's new. That looks correct to me, so we'll accept that as an answer. And then N, the first stroke, it's going from top left to bottom right, but it's not very steep. Maybe about this. And then the second one kind of swoops up, also not very steep. But the placement here could be better, so let's redo that. 1, 2, and great. Moving on to ku. So this one, this is the first stroke. That's the second, and then that's the whole character. Ke is very similar. It's 1, 2, 3, but you know, this extends to the right a bit compared to ku. Va is 1, 2, 3, like that. Now I said 3, right? But that was one stroke, that last part, so it's actually just 1 and 2. And then na looks like this. I think it goes more to the middle. Yeah, something like this. And for those of you that have just joined, I am basically practicing writing katakana on the Lingo Command website. The questions here are being posed in Romaji using European alphabet. And so when I press here, I get this Photoshop looking box in which I can draw my answers. And so for Su, I've been studying this for a bit now. I think this is the first stroke. This is the second. So let's submit our answers and check, and indeed that looks correct. And we'll go to this one. So this is in Romaji, or sorry, in katakana, when you write this, in Romaji, it's written as vo, but you don't actually pronounce it as vo. The W is silent, so it's just pronounced o. And the way you write it is the first stroke here is left to right. So is the second, and then you have this swooping curve at the bottom. So this is o, written as vo, and that matches, so we'll consider that correct. And now we'll move on to you. So you, I think it's something like this. Let's take a look. Let's submit our answer, and that's correct again. Re is very simple. It's one stroke. Looks like this. I mean, perhaps the proportions could have been a bit better, but I think that's acceptable. Yo. So regarding yo, I think it's important to know that the Y kind of comes in a cluster of 3, right? So you have ya, yu, and yo. So ya is this shape, 2 strokes. This is the first, that's the second. Then yu, we just had that earlier. It was this one. And then yo, this is the first stroke. That's the second, and then that's the third. So let's clear all of this and write this more neatly. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And for those of you that have just joined, I'm practicing writing katakana on the Lingo Command website. I've got the questions here being posed in Romaji. Now, he is very simple. So it's this shape, whether you're doing hiragana or whether you are doing katakana. So it's one stroke, very straightforward. And that looks the same to me, so we'll say that this drawing matches and move on to ha. Ha is also very simple. It's 2 strokes, going from the top to the bottom, going from left to right. And then chi, it's 1, 2, 3, like that. So you go from top right down, then you go from left to right, and then you've got this swooping curve as your third stroke. To me, that looks correct, so we'll give that a pass and move on to me. And I like to remember me and ni together, right? So, and by the way, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop a comment in the chat or anything. But yeah, so the way I remember this is with me, the letter M has like these 3 little like lowest parts, right? And then N has 2 of them. And so that the way I remember this is the katakana character for N or ni. And then this is the one for, I think it's like this. And so my point here is there are 2 like lowest parts on the letter N, and its katakana character is 2 horizontal strokes. For me, M has 3 like lowest parts, and it's got these 3 diagonal lines. And so these are little tricks that I use to try and memorize it, because if you don't have any kind of concept in your brain to latch onto, it can be quite challenging to remember all of these characters. So I'm saying all of this stuff, but let's actually see if that's correct. So this is 1, 2, 3. I would say that's pretty accurate. We'll give that a pass, and then we'll go on to ma. So, this one is tricky, right? Because I think mo looks like this, but we're not doing mo, we're doing ma. Could it be this? I don't think it is. I'm gonna get this wrong. Oh no, let's see. Yeah, that's completely wrong. So we're gonna say that doesn't match. Just get it wrong. But he, I do remember. So you start with a kind of diagonal line, slightly going up. And then you've got this shape, right? And here you've got this stroke order diagram. So where the number, you do the strokes in numerical order. So here it says 1, so you start there and you move away from the number. Then you go to the next number up, 2, and you move away from the number. And so this is correct, but let's just kind of go deeper into this concept. So option 1 is you write the character like this. So you start here, 1, and then you go to there. The other one is you do this stroke for first, and then you do that stroke. So this is 1, and then that's 2. And both, in a way, are kind of equally legible. But I think, basically, in katakana, in Japanese in general, stroke order helps you write faster. It helps you write more neatly. And also, like native Japanese people seem to insist on it themselves. So I, as a complete beginner, I'm just going to kind of follow their example. And as I learn more, I'm sure I'll understand more on why they're insisting on a specific stroke order. So this is he, anyways. So that matches. We'll consider that acceptable. For those of you that have just joined, I am studying how to write basic katakana using the Lingo Command website, and I've got a quiz here. The questions are being posed in Romaji, and then I write the character here. So she, I think it's something like 1, 2, 3. And so let's submit our answers and check. And that looks accurate to me. So we'll give that a pass. And then, so I spoke about this before. I use these little tricks to try and remember all of these kana. And so mi has 3 lowest parts on the letter M. And so it looks like this. 3 strokes. N has 2 parts at the bottom. And so it's 2 strokes. They're both kind of horizontal. This is a bit more slanted. But yeah, let's clear all of this and just write this neatly. So this is ni. We'll accept that. And now I'm going to be doing the katakana character for a. So if we press here, what is a? So a is this shape. This is the first stroke. We start at the left, go to the right, swoop down. And then we leave a bit of space here. We leave a bit of space there. And let's submit our answer and check. And I would say that's a pretty accurate match. So we'll accept that and move on to the next question. Now, I think I always get this. It's either this or it's that. But I think it might be this one. So let's try this. The first stroke goes from left to right. So does the second. And then almost at like a right angle, we've got this third stroke coming in. And that is a match. So we'll accept this. Now, this is the most convoluted bit of logic, but to me, ta, I think to myself, okay, table. Table is a piece of furniture, and so is a rocking chair. Now, you might be thinking, oh, what on earth is this guy doing? But basically, ta looks like this. And when I look at this curved bit at the bottom, I can almost see this like kind of rotate like this. Back and forth. And so to me, when I look at this, I kind of think, oh, that could be like something kind of rocking back and forth, this shape. And then I'm like, oh, well, rocking chair is a piece of furniture, so is table. And so table is ta. This is the little story I made to try and remember this shape because I kept getting it wrong. So yeah, long story short, I think this looks like this. 1, 2, 3. And this third stroke starts here and then goes towards this shape. So yeah, that's a match, so we'll accept that. And then we go to sa. So sa, you start with the horizontal stroke. Then you get this one and then this one. So let's take a look. That's a match in my eyes. Consider that correct. And then here, I like to kind of group ko and ro together. I'll explain why. So this is ko. And then ro is very similar, but you've got this stroke to start off with. Then you got this shape, and then you finish it off here. There should not. Right, let me do this more neatly. 1, 2, 3. And so they're almost the same shape, except this line is missing. So let's submit our answer here. I think this is the katakana character for ko. So we'll submit, and that's a match. Great. And now we go on to mo. So if I remember correctly, this is 2 horizontal strokes going from left to right, and then you've got this shape here. So let's check our answer and submit. Okay, great. And then ra, it's 1 stroke here. This is the second stroke. Let's submit our answer and check. And then ne, there's a lot going on here. So this is the first stroke, top to bottom. Then the second is this one. This is the third stroke, and then there's a bit of a gap. That's the fourth stroke. So let's submit our answer and see if that's correct. I think that's a pretty accurate match, so I'm going to consider that correct. Then we go on to sol. This is quite a steep diagonal stroke here, going from top left to bottom right for the katakana sol. And then it kind of swoops like this. And so if we submit, hopefully that's correct. I think, you know, it's not bad, but I wish this was a bit smaller and over here. So I'm just going to redo that, write this more neatly. This is 1, 2. I think that looks a bit like a closer match. That leaves us with ka. So ka looks like this, if I'm not mistaken. Let us submit our answer. I think that's a pretty accurate match. And then we go to e. So e is a bit confusing to me. It's not confusing per se, but when we look at the very important vowels, so a looks like this. I looks like this. U looks like that. And then E looks to me like a capital I. And so as a kind of English speaker, that's kind of funny to me. And then this is O in katakana. So with that said, let's write this. And we'll submit our answer. That looks correct to me. So we'll give that a pass. And now we're on to tsu. So I think this is 1, 2, 3. Did I get that right? I think I started here at the bottom, right? Because the shape matches, but did the stroke order match? 1, 2, 3. I'm pretty sure that I did that in the correct order. What I mean with this, if you look at this diagram, actually, the best way to explain this is if we open this here and press show answer. When you look at this diagram, it says draw the strokes in numerical order, right? 1, 2, 3, starting at each number and moving away from it. So we look at 1, we move away. We look at 2, we move away. We look at 3, we move away. And so, sure, you can write tsu like this, right? Let's see if I can do that even more out of order. If you insist, you know, you can write it like this. But I think it's almost like, imagine writing English like this. Right? Isn't this almost like frustrating to look at? Sure, I wrote water, but it just seems a bit ridiculous. And so in English, everyone writes a W like this. Likewise, in Japanese, from what I can tell, everyone writes a tsu like this. And so by writing this in the correct stroke order, you are able to write neatly, write fast, and also it's just what native Japanese people seem to insist on. And so as a beginner, I'm going to kind of follow their example. Any case, let's move on here. This is I. This is straightforward. It's not much to say about I. No, I like this one because it's just like a diagonal line. And the way that I like to remember this is, let's say like back in school, like you said, oh, okay, 2 plus 3 is 4. Your teacher would just go through it with a line, say, oh, that's completely incorrect. Whilst, if it was correct, they would put this. And so no in English means like, like a rejection. And so to me, this is like, you made a mistake. No. That's how I try to remember this. Now I should point out mine is a bit too diagonal. It goes a bit steeper. Let's write that a bit more neatly. There. I think that's more acceptable. And now I'll go on to fu. So I don't know how I remember this, but when I think about fu, right, it looks like this, and it looks almost like a shark to me, right? Imagine that these are the teeth, and that's the eye. I don't know why that helps me, but that helps me remember that fu for katakana looks like this. And I think the story was like, if you're getting chased by a shark, that's not fun. Fun, the first 2 letters is fu. Bit convoluted, but that's how I like to remember this. To is very simple, by the way. It's just vertical stroke straight down, and then this line here. So that's that. By the way, when I'm writing these characters, I'm using a Wacom tablet, but I noticed that my battery's dying. So I'm going to remove the Wacom tablet, put my charger in, and continue drawing like this. And for those of you that have just joined, I am practicing how to write basic katakana on the Lingo Command website. Questions here are being posed in Romaji using the European alphabet. If I press here, I get this kind of Photoshop looking component. And I'm currently using like a trackpad on my laptop to write this character. So this is the first stroke, that's the second. And then the third kind of swoops like this. Let's submit and check. 1, 2, 3. I think that looks pretty accurate, so we'll give that a pass. And then ya looks like this. So that's the first, and then that's the second. Now I'm using my trackpad. It's a little bit harder to draw, but that's a pretty accurate match still. Ho looks like a home to me. So the way I remember this is the first stroke. That's the second. And then you got these 2 strokes here on either side. And to me, this almost looks like a house, right? This is the roof. That's like the sides, the walls. You can see how that matches. So that's great. And then ru looks like this. Like that. Perhaps this is a bit too curved. That could have been straight, but I think that's still pretty legible. We'll give that a pass. And then mu looks like a triangle. So it's 1, 2. And I say 1, 2, 3, but this is actually 1 stroke. And then this is the second. As you can see here, right? You move away from 1, that's the first stroke, and then you go to 2, you move away from 2, that's the second stroke. O is very simple. It's 1, 2, and then 3, like that. And let's finish this up because we're almost there. So this is 1, 2, and then 3. But that could have been better actually because it doesn't start here. It starts exactly there. So that's 2. And then we leave a bit of room here at the bottom. So we have these 2 little legs sticking out. This is ro, as you can see here. Te is very simple. It's 1 line here, second line, and then this kind of swooping shape here. This is te. And then our final one is me, which is 1, 2. These 2 kind of swooping curves meeting in the middle. That's me. And now I want to, actually, I'm gonna show something cool. So you can, I don't know if y'all are familiar with dakiten and handakiten, but if not, I'll explain it. So we just did these 46 characters, right? But P, for example, was not in there. And so when you are doing hiragana or katakana, it's the same concept. Basically, if you have a kana that starts with a K and you add a dakuten mark on top, K becomes G. K becomes G. And what I mean with that is, like, let's say if you take ku, right? In katakana, this is ku. And then these two marks here that I'm circling, this is called dakuten. So when you add these two small marks at the top right of a character, that's called dakuten. And then basically the K sound becomes G. So ka becomes ga, ku becomes gu, ki becomes gi, ke becomes ge, ko becomes go. And so they're multiple maps. Like, actually, what we can do is we can go to the Lingo Command website, go to writing systems, to the theory section, go to katakana. Then on the second page, dakuten and handakuten is being explained. So here we can see this concept I was talking about. So ka, this is the kana for ka, the katakana, and these two marks on top turns the ka into a ga. And here you can see K becomes G. That's what I was describing. S goes to Z, T goes to D, H goes to B. And so this explains 20 different dakuten variations. But then there's one other thing you can put on the top right called handakuten. So handakuten is this little circle. And when you add that, so when you add the two dashes, H goes to B. When you have the circle, and the circle only applies for H, so that's a family of 5, ha, hi, hu, he, ho. And hu, it's usually also written as fu, so it's ha, hi, fu, he, ho. This cluster of 5 would then get mapped to P, so it's pa, pi, pu, pe, po. And so when we're getting this question here, what is P? Oh, that was a shame we just showed the answer, but as you might remember, this is the katakana for hi. All we need to do here is add this little circle that maps H to P, so this now becomes P. Let's submit our answer and check, and that's the job done. And so there's no point in trying to basically remember all 25 of these. If you master the basic 46 katakana, and then you understand these rules of K goes to G, S goes to Z, etc., this should all become straightforward. So let's, and for those of you that have just joined, I am basically studying how to write katakana on the Lingo Command website, and the questions here are being posed using European alphabet. And if I type here or press here, we get this Photoshop looking component. And so the katakana for pa, well, firstly, you have to write ha. And by the way, I just saw someone here wrote a comment in the chat. Hello, can we have French learning? I really do intend to add more languages in the future, because I'm also the software developer behind this app. And I'm kind of using my own app to learn Japanese exclusively. So I'm not studying any Japanese outside of these live streams. But as like a solo developer, French will have to be something for maybe like next year or later down the road. For now, my focus is Japanese. But yeah, going back to this katakana, here we have ha. And if we add this circle on top, let's write that more neatly. There we go. So H, when you add this handakuten mark, anything with H, so ha, hi, fu, he, ho. So I'm saying fu, but fu and hu are kind of used interchangeably. It gets mapped to P. So this is pa, right? So yeah, I hope that answered your question. Midum. Hope I didn't mispronounce that name. Now this one, it's almost kind of like algebra, right? So we want to get something that gets mapped to pe. And we know that H gets mapped to P when you apply sorry, this is a lousy arrow. When you apply the handakuten mark. And so when you want to get pe, you have to ask yourself, when h gets mapped to p, what is placed here so that we get pe? Well, of course, it's going to be he, right? The e stays the same. And so basically, all we need to do is now get the katakana for he, and then apply this little circle at the top right in order to get that to become pe. And this is the kana, or the katakana for he, but also in hiragana. So it's the same shape conveniently. Now all we got to do is add this little circle. And there we go. That's a match. Now, bo, we said h goes to p, right? But that's only when you put the circle. We also had this mark, and when you use this, it gets mapped to b, like that. And so here, because we get bo, we want ho, h gets mapped to b. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we add these little dakuten marks. So let's submit that. And it would be really nice in order to make use of this Wacom tablet. I'm going to try and see if I can find a way to set this up so we can make use of both devices. So please bear with me for a second. I think I need to get a charger. Why don't we give this a try? And for those of you that have just joined, basically I am practicing how to write katakana using the Lingo Command app or the website. The questions here are being posed in Romaji, and then because I've selected handwrite answers here, you can press here and then write your answer, right? So you can squiggle anything here, you can press undo. And so if I remember correctly, basically, in order to get G, you write down the katakana for shi, which looks like this. And then when you add the two marks here, that should give G. There we go. I'd say that's a pretty accurate match, so we'll accept that. And for be, so if you are not familiar, or if you're already familiar with this concept, like please let me know. But basically, in Japanese, you have hiragana and katakana. There are 46 characters for each. But for example, let's say that we take he. So he looks like this in katakana. And katakana is the script that you use for foreign loanwords, right? So jacket to obviously comes from the English word jacket. And so for that, you would use these 46 katakana characters to write the word. And so this is the, let me write it more neatly. Like that. This is he in katakana. Now, if you want to, you've got these 46 basic characters, that's great. But in order to make more sounds, there's this thing you can add called a dakuten. And when you do that, a H sound becomes a B sound. And dakuten, all it is when you add these two little marks on top. And so if we do that here, this he becomes a be, right? So let's submit our answer. And you'll see that that's a correct match. So that's great. And ka, right? Ka is, or sorry, ga. Well, k becomes g when you add dakuten on top, right? So k becomes g. So ga comes from ka. Very simple. And so let's write down that. This is ka. And then you add these two marks. And you get ga. There we go. Then we go on to the next. So this is This is ki. And then when we add these two marks here, that becomes gi. Do comes from to. To is this mark. Is that right? Yeah, I think so. And then when we add these two little marks, we get do. Fantastic. So is, what is so? So so is this. It's a bit extreme. This is so. And then when you add these two marks, we get zo. Fantastic. So, and that goes on and on, right? There are 25 of these marks, but you kind of get the pattern. But I'm pretty happy with the hiragana and katakana stroke order, like how to write them. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take I'm gonna move on to practicing some vocabulary, right? And so why don't we go to colors, for example? So here I've got this simple table showing English on the right, on the left, and the Japanese words on the right. And if I press here,
青、茶色、
you get the pronunciation for each word. And so this is in Romaji using European alphabet. But if you press here, you get the same words using hiragana and katakana. These are the two basic scripts that make up 2/3 of the Japanese writing system. There's also kanji, which are basically characters taken from Chinese, or that have Chinese origins for the most part. But what we can do is we can now press quiz here. And if I swap the languages, so here the question is being posed in English, right? What is black? And then I can now type in, well, this is kuro. So if I press Romaji here, it's going to accept the answer in Romaji. And then this is ao. This is, so yeah, actually, let's just do this quiz, right? Brown is chairo, I think. Okay, only one I. This is midori. But this is a bad habit, right? We're writing our answers here in Romaji. I want to kind of move away from that because that's, I've been studying hiragana and katakana. And so what we can do here is on a Mac, you can basically set up your keyboard configuration. And I've got a tutorial on my YouTube video, or on my YouTube channel on how to do this. But basically I've got hiragana set up here. And so now if I type in the letter K and then U, I get the hiragana character ku. Now, when you just type in K, it doesn't really know which hiragana character you're going for because it's ka, ki, ku, ke, ko. There are 5 options. Only when you press U after can it kind of lock in what option you were trying to go for. So now if I type in R, once again, there are 5 options. Ra, ri, ru, re, ro. So now if I type in an O, it's going to lock in, okay, that's, ro. Now this is saying it's incorrect, but that's because I've got Romaji set up here. So it's expecting my answer in Romaji. If I press hiragana and I do this again, ku, ro, then it accepts the answer. Great. So now this is a, o. Let's submit our answer. This was, what is this? Chai, ro. Now there's something interesting going on here. So the way I'm going to explain this is look at this versus this. So if I zoom in, you can see here that the two characters on these two characters are the same as these two characters, but this is kind of half-sized while this is full-sized. When you see a half-sized ya, you, or yo, you are looking at a hiragana yun combination or a katakana yun combination. In this case, it's hiragana because that's the characters that we're using. So this is chi and this is ya, but because this is half size, we get a blended singular sound. So this becomes not chi and ya, but cha. So this is cha, chairo. This is i, this is ro, chairo. So I just wanted to explain that. To basically say that's what's going on there, in case you're wondering why is this half-sized. But this is quite simple, midori, right? Midori. This is hairo with 2 I's. And then this is a loan word from presumably English. And for those of you that have just joined, I am practicing like Japanese basic vocabulary. So I'm doing colors. The questions here are being posed in English, and then I am writing my answers in Japanese, but only in hiragana and katakana. And I've got a custom keyboard configuration set up here for writing katakana. And if you're not sure how to do that, you can check my YouTube video on my channel in order how to do that. But in any case, orange is orenji in Japanese, and that sounds very similar because it's loaned from the English language. And when words are loaned from foreign languages, it is written in katakana. Katakana is the script for loan words. So this is o, ren, ji. This is orange. Now you might be wondering, like, how am I writing these characters? So for example, here it's an R, and in katakana there are 5 different characters that start with an R. It's ra, ri, ru, re, ro. And so at the moment it doesn't really know which one I'm picking. But if I now write the letter E, because I've just got a normal keyboard, normal QWERTY keyboard using the 26 letters of the kind of European alphabet. If I now type in E, I'm getting, it's locking in this option, right? Re. This is the katakana re. Then I type in N, for which there are 6 options. Na, ni, nu, ne, no, and then N as well. And so this is a bit of a faff to write. When you put a space, it locks in just the N option. And then J and I. Great, so we wrote Renji, and then this is Pinku. And so also, it's not sufficient to just be like, oh, it's coming from English, right? P-I-N-K. It's Pinku, right? So you have this U sound at the end. So even though it's a loan word, it's not identical to English. Purple is actually just a Japanese word. It's not loaned from anywhere. And it is, so that's by the way why I'm going to hiragana. And this is murasaki. Murasaki. Same with red, right? That's just a normal Japanese word. This is aka. This is shiro. And then, oh, I always forget what yellow is. Is it kira? Something like this? So I got that last one wrong, and let's just take a look. That's the feedback here. So it's, oh, it's very close, right? First 2 characters were correct, but it's not kira, it's kiro. So what we can do is we can apply random ordering and redo this quiz. So the questions are scrambled up so that we're not getting locked into a certain pattern. So pink is pinku. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm always happy to answer. Like if you're wondering what I'm doing, why I'm doing this, if you want any advice that I can give you. But yeah, this is aka, but I'm about to make a mistake here because aka is a actual Japanese word in the sense that it's not a loan word. So we've got to write this in hiragana. And then this is, I always get brown and gray kind of mixed up, right? But the way I remember it is chai, it's like tea, right? Tea is usually brown. This is kind of like a little trick that I use to try and remember what's what. So brown is chairo, because chai is brown, I think. And so then hairo is the other one, so that must be gray. So this is hairo with 2 eyes, which is a bit unusual. I don't see that often. This is very simple, shiro, ao. And then this is orenji, but it's gonna be katakana because this is a loan word, right? So it's orenji. And hopefully I'm not gonna make the same mistake here, right? So it's ki, I, and it's not ra, but it's ro. Kiro. There we go. This is murasaki. This is... Okay, so now we can use chairo. But I want to explain something here. So this and this are not the same thing. So you see here, these 2 characters are almost identical to these ones, but this one is smaller. It's half sized. Now this is chi, this is ya, and so when you read this, this is just chi, ya. But when this is smaller, you're dealing with something called a hiragana yun combination. That's a blended syllable. And so this is not chi ya, but it's cha. It becomes a blended sound. And so this half size denotes this blending of sounds. And so I wanted to point that out, right? Because if you look here, chairo, this here is not chi ya, it's cha. It's a blended syllable. So that's worth pointing out. But midori is kind of straightforward. And so is kuro. And so that's great. We got 100%. And let's just move on to another topic. So let's try body parts, right? I'm gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna be writing our answers in hiragana and katakana. I'm gonna apply random ordering. I'm gonna try and get this vocabulary locked in. So back, it's something like senaka. Because I always get a bit mixed up because fish is sakana, if I'm not mistaken. And so senaka, sakana, I always get them a bit mixed up, but this should be. So this is se, na, ka. Let's see if that's correct. Awesome. Feet is ashi, but there's something to point out here. So both leg and feet is the same word in Japanese, ashi. So if you're talking about your leg, ashi. If you're talking about your foot, ashi. And also, I want to double check this, but I'm pretty sure in Japanese, you don't really have a concept of plural versus singular. So in English, yeah, you've got one eye, you've got multiple eyes, you've got one foot, multiple feet, or 2 feet. But in Japanese, if it's one ashi, it's 2 ashi, it's all ashi. Right? So for example, this is me, but if it's one eye or multiple eyes, it's all me. This is te, it's one hand, but if they're multiple hands, it's also te. And for those of you that have just joined, I'm just studying vocabulary, basic vocabulary for Japanese on the Lingo Command website. Questions are being posed here in English, and I'm writing the answers in hiragana and katakana. And if you're wondering how I'm doing that, I've got a keyboard configuration set up that lets me write hiragana and katakana. And if you're wondering how that's done, you can check out the YouTube video on my channel. In any case, head is atama, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Because I think stomach is onaka. So head is atama. Yeah, I'm on like day 14 of learning Japanese, so I'm kind of, trying to improve. And we'll see how that goes. So this is kuchi. I'm not mistaken, kuchi. Yeah, okay. This, I spoke about this before. This is onaka. And then, yeah, so I mentioned this before. Feet and leg is the same word in Japanese. So this is ashi, right? And then this, it's yubi. But there's no extra u. Okay, so it's just yubi. So probably shouldn't have added that. This is very simple. It's mimi. And then this is ude. Fantastic. So yeah, why don't I just do another round? So I'm going to reapply random ordering and I'm going to go again. Try and lock this in. So feet is ashi. Mouth is kuchi. Arm is ude. This is senaka. Me. And then hand. What is hand? Hand is te. Ears is mimi. Stomach is o na ka. Head is atama. Leg is ashi. And fingers is yubi, but there's no extra u here, so it's just yubi. Very simple. Fantastic. And I think perhaps this might not be a bad place to stop for today. I think in the next live stream, what I'll probably do is handwrite my answers to kind of consolidate this stroke order for hiragana and katakana. And I'm going to do that for these basic vocabulary topics that I've studied earlier. So animals, body parts, clothes, colors, days of the week, months of the year, numbers, verbs, etc. And yeah, I think that would probably be a good idea for the next live stream. But I'd like to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, if you enjoyed the live stream, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. That would really help me to continue making videos like this. And it will also help me to continue working on this website, lingocommand.com, that we're using, and the accompanying iOS app available on the App Store, also called Lingo Command. In any case, thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Take care.